Calling you radical, so we're going to do a dissertation on Doyle Strong, the great, incredible professor that got thrown off this campus. He ran the whole show. He's the original art professor on this campus. Ran the show, he got thrown off the campus. The history of resistance art, I'm going to talk about it. So, you can paint out my bag, do some painting on the sign in honor the best, the greatest, maybe the greatest professor that was ever on this campus. That's saying a lot. Is that a move? There you go. In fact, the guy who gave me a lecture yesterday on is the guy who invented Waldo, Dr. Hirsch. So he's 94. He gave me a 3-hour lecture yesterday for 3 hours with his cane. He never stopped. He's the one who drew. He's the commercial artist. But anyway, he's the one that removed this painting from the Browning Center. He's the one that had it removed. By the way, Val Browning, when they dedicated the Val Browning didn't even show up. So, because Doyle Strong was going at the Brownings. So Doyle Strong not only did this painting, the painting that got him, you know, they made him, forced him out here. He did a painting of the Brownings and he used real dead birds on it. And he glued dead birds. But you got to realize at the time of the genre, the pop artists, Rostow, who I know personally, who's still alive, was painting with blood, right? Remember he was experimenting with blood? Yep. He's the guy who did burning gas stations. This guy was every bit as important as Rostow, maybe more, you know, all the great pop art. This is a masterpiece. And it coming back. I talked to Hirsch yesterday for a long time. He's 94, so you got to give him all the respect. Just listen to him. He's a walking, talking encyclopedia. But you know, he's not even happy about this being back here. And I says, well, you know, you're still running the show here at 94? Well, kind of, sort of. And then I'll do more about this on my radio show on Monday. We'll get into detail on he's the guy who did the bell tower. He's the guy that built the D-Event Center. He's the guy, we'll talk about the history of the money and the wealth, and Doyle Strong, the great radical resistance artist that he was. And these are the type of professors that were at this university. This was the counter-radical university. This guy was something else. What threw him over the top where they finally booted him off the university, you know, and there was two guys, Farrell Colette and Doyle Strong. They ran the whole thing, all of it. That was it, just it. This campus came up here in 1950. He was here forever. By the way, his daughter was murdered in Florida. I can get into that, but this guy, when Bobby Kennedy was killed, which I shook Bobby Kennedy's hand on this campus right over here, days before Martin Luther King was killed, not long before Bobby was killed. You should have seen the paintings. I would like to know where those paintings are at. It's hard to find because a lot of things disappeared here on this university in the last 20 years. I call it the 20-year panty painter cycle, which actually went longer than that. There was a lot of cover-up gone along, corruption. But he would go into this recluse thing and he would paint. He painted some freaking incredible stuff post the murder of Bobby Kennedy. I sure wish I knew where it was at. I've been doing a lot of work trying to find it, but good luck.
Maybe in the archives of sorts.
Yeah, which are hard to get at because the problem is with the archives here, the people that run the archives here are not from here. They don't know the history. And then what happened, the GE endowment here, the Wattis, we had a big, I'm going to go into the GE endowment. Well, I used to be on the committee. I screamed at them to get out of the GE, which is all an inherited wealth which belongs to the community. I fought for it to be transparent for years. $64. I begged them to freaking thing. It's $10, and it was all inherited. Wattis Construction, Wattis Construction. This is the Wattis School of Art. The most famous school of art in the Western United States, maybe in the country, is the Phyllis Wattis School of Art in San Francisco. Same school of art, same school of art. You know, this is the school of art I went to, blah, 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 blah. But this painting, it was not removed because of nudity. A lot of people think, and this painting was, somebody did that a long time ago. I don't know who, where, when that happened. But that's not why it was removed. It was not removed for nudity. It was removed for this piece of the icon. Right there.
I was going to say that'd be my guess.
That's right from the horse's mouth yesterday. Right from Hirsch's mouth. By the way, Hirsch was not a professor here, not a graduate, but he was a commercial artist. He drew Which, no, that's the number one, that's the best athlete on campus. He only won the national award again this year, this kid. Do you know him? You got to meet this dude. Have you? Not only that, the cheerleading squad won the number one in the country this year. The best athlete on the campus is that dude, by far. God, you ever seen him go?
No, but I like that cat.
Yeah, yeah. And he gave me a dissertation on, he's the one, he was a commercial artist, he's the one that invented Waldo, blah, 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 blah.
I like that cat, too.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Did you draw that one?
Yeah.
Nice. I could. So, we'll talk about this more on my radio show on Monday, and you know, I want to put a little bit of art, and so I'll tie this into Fukushima. This is who built the reactors at Fukushima. Waters Construction, you talked to him. We got into this. Me and him had a really great, I wish I would have had a camera. I wish I'd have had a camera, and so, you know, to record him, but maybe I'll get one with him because I know where he walks. He's a freaking walking, talking encyclopedia. You know, and he loves me, by the way. He's like, Kevin, you should be on our board. I said, they ain't putting me on their board because I just get it right. You know, geez, what, $10? They lost this board, who's run by a guy named Karos. I can get it, the same person that sold our radio signal off. The corruption that went over here, Jim Jacobs, the panty the little short dude about this thing who was so intimidated by everybody, including him. Same with Dr. Cooley, the intimidation went over to Dr. Mattson. These guys, you know, they were going to be the celebrity artists, which they're not ours. They're pieces of dog shit, you know. This guy. So the long history of resistance art that I grew up with, that mentored me, the resistant artist, Kevin Blanch, Doyle Strong, oh hell yeah. How about Fawn Brody? How about Fawn Brimhall, our mother? How about Bernard DeVoto? Bernard DeVoto's from Ogden, you know, across the wide Missouri. Oh yeah. You know, I go on and on and on and on. You know, but this is the guy. And this coming back is an iconic moment. You know, I'm paramount to several people to get this back here and keep it here. It was supposed to be temporary, but it's going to stay, from what I hear. You know, changes are permanent. So tie this into the salmon numbers, the death of the Pacific Ocean. Someone needs to teach Alaska how to count. This is important. Alaska does not know how to count. And if you don't believe me, just Google. You can speak into your phone. I know you're too lazy to type. And, you know, my crowd, thank you to the Post-Ignorance Army. Alaska has been caught, sued for lying on returning salmon numbers. Caught, sued, pled guilty, the state of Alaska. Washington won't count. Washington, the Chamber of Commerce, Washington refuses to put numbers on. The head of the WW had to resign for rape. That's right, 2015. Supposed to be count salmon. They were having orgies. Look it up. You know, I can't do all the work. So Oregon's the only one. The Army Corps Engineers are derelicts. The Army Corps Engineers who classified me, Kevin Blanch, while in, it's a fact, Jack. It's unarguable proof. I have the proof now. They classified me. So, just like they blackballed me on the university for my stance against nuclear energy. This is the University of Nuclear Energy. I'll talk a lot about this on my radio show on Monday. We'll get into heavy detail on this recorded history. The incredible, this radical freaking campus of intellectuals, this boutique, brilliant, genius university that was corporate whoredom taken over by dirty Governor Herbert and freaking gang. So he did a lecture during Vietnam. Some of the greatest Vietnam protests in the country were in Ogden, Utah. Some of the greatest environmentalists were in Ogden, Utah. They were professors here. I was involved with I was an AP honor art student when I was 14. You know, an artist found me in junior high. You know, I don't know how, where, blah, 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 but of course, blackball me because I'm a resistance artist, activist artist like he. God, he was the greatest. So that's blood, my blood, but that was improv. I'm all improv art, by the way. I'm all improv art. All my art's improv, 100% improv. And if anybody's been with me, just like so a guy told me right here, he says, I remember when art was about communications, you know, talking about Back to the Cave. Michelangelo, you think? I says, was? Still is. What's the genre of the day? YouTube. Don't want to use it? So let's put some wave action. We'll just let it ride just like that naturally. Nice. That went up. Got a little blue. A little blue on our bag. next to our G. So the G20, so let's have a contest. How many of the G20 do you believe will go to the Hiroshima Memorial? Do you know how close they are? Osaka, Japan? How many, well, let's have another comment. How many of the G20 will get cancer in the next 3, 4, 5 years and die of cancer? So the protocol officer has resigned over Fukushima, the word I get. It's being reported he used to go to work with a whip. Is that true? Oh, what a story. So, the only people that count properly on the salmon are Oregon. And they used to laugh at me because Kevin Blanch holds their feet to the fire, and I got them as Fukushima believers now. Army Corps engineers, the live cam has been out on the bond. You used to be able to sit at your desk and watch on kind of the live cam. They took that down. Not only because the numbers are so low, they don't want to see your skinny, sucked up salmon. The Nuclear Energy Crime Syndicate. So what they got him thrown off this campus, and the originator of the Wada School of Art. The art school wasn't called the Wada School then. The original Weber State University Art School was founded by Farrell Collette and Doyle Strong. He said in his lecture, he stood up one day and he says, "Fuck Richard Nixon, he's a fucking liar, he's a fucking liar," and he went off. And he protested the Vietnam War on this campus. So did I. I was 8 years old. My aunties brought me up. You should have seen it. 10,000 people protesting on a campus of 3,000 people. This is a masterpiece. I mean a masterpiece. I consider him to be the best pop artist of them all. Rust out, burning gas stations. That's a great piece. You know. What's his name? The lipstick dude. He just passed away. Those are fantastic. The pop art, the commercial art of that time. How about a guy named Andy Warhol? Kevin Blanch, the 33rd soup can. One day I'll get into a dissertation about that. This is an important piece. It's an incredible piece. It's a masterpiece, and I want it to get recorded before it takes down. What a artist, this dude. In a long history of this incredible Ogden, Utah, this incredible resistance place, you know, the boomtown, the great Junction City, ding, 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 ding. By the way, the 150 Celebrate was an absolute disgrace. The right-wingers, the military-industrial, took it over. And, you know, 50 years ago, it was Johnny Cash playing his guitar. Talk about a resistance artist. And the musicians who sold us down the river, Sting, oh, it stings. Piece of shit, you know. Phil Collins, piece of shit. They all did anti-nuclear. Crazy Train. It's all nuclear waste, all anti-nuclear. By the way, this guy was one incredible anti-nuclear activist. So there's a painting out there somewhere. He used dead birds. He had the Brownies shooting them with their guns, and he understood Dada. He understood the anti-imperialism. This guy was the shit. You know, and this guy, whoa, the later paintings that he did, wow. I'm up looking, Kevin Blanch searching. By the way, I found the Ogden High School, the WPA painting, in the basement stacked up. Farrell Collette's paintings, his historical paintings used to be all over the library, that famous library that Edward Abbey was in, that D.B. Cooper was in, that Devoto was in, Fawn, Brimhall, Fawn McKay was in, Doyle Strong was in, that library, from the landscape of the library. They're stacked up in the basement in here. I talked to her and I'm like, what? She's not from here, because that's what they've done. The corporate oligarch whoredom has taken over academia. When they take over our art schools, first they come for the craftsmen. Kevin Blanch, 10,000 jobs, including the ceilings in the Val Browning Center over there. He told me his Val didn't even show up to the ceremony. I says, yeah, because the resistance artists were out. So the G20, the protesters are there in force. Oh, are they in force? And they're chanting, we know about Fukushima. I know this, I got freaking word up there. The Taiwan, the Hong Kong, all of them, that's what they're protesting. And they're there by the thousands. I'm not allowed in Japan. That's a fact, Jack. Kevin Blanch is not allowed in Japan. I'm not allowed in Russia anymore. I'm not allowed in Ukraine. That's a fact, you know. So I can still go to Vienna. Our roads lead to Ogden, Utah. No, our roads lead to Vienna and Mozart. Beethoven, the great activist artist, who put words to lyrics. You can't walk through those monarchs and those wannabe Donald Trump royals at the G20. You can't walk through the center. You need to step aside for them. They should step aside for me. Kevin D., the Ph.D. Stay tuned.